Earlier this year, the Troy Colts looked impressive with great execution, offensively and defensively. All eyes were looking for the defending state champs to repeat. But lately, winning hasn't come easy for the Colts, with narrow victories over Waterford Kettering and Troy Athens. Pontiac Central was able to shut out Troy, handing them their first loss in 14 games. Today, the playoffs begin as Detroit Henry Ford takes on the Troy Colts. The TCI Sports High School Football Game of the Week. Tonight, it's the Detroit Henry Ford Trojans taking on the Troy Colts. And a strong, cold wind prevails over Troy High School today, and the field conditions do not look good. Hello again, everyone. Dave Zorin along with Joe Abramson here at Troy High School. And Joe, it is a blustery day, a cold day, and the field is not in good condition for this playoff game.
No, the field is in terrible condition. It's been raining the last few days, and one of the assistant coaches even told me they were hoping it would get down to maybe 20, 25 degrees just to freeze the field so that it would be hard anyway. It is so soft, and if you watch the kickers out there trying to warm up, they can't get their feet planted. And Gary Griffith told us before the game, if you're going to try to run, you're going to try to run to the outside because there's just no footing up the middle for either team.
And this may hurt the Trojans more so than the Troy Colts because they're the ones with the quickness and they're the ones who've got to make the cuts.
Yeah, they've got more team speed, a little bit like Pontiac Central, who did beat Troy a few weeks ago. Another thing hurting the Trojans, though, is that their quarterback and best player, Sean Black, is a little knocked up, a little injured. He's going to have to move to wide receiver so he doesn't take as many hits. That's going to change their offensive philosophy a little, make them do something different. But it might be good in the same sense because they're on a 2-game losing streak right now. They're 7-2.
Okay, the Troy Colts are at home to kick off their playoff season, and we'll be back with the kickoff right after these messages. Stay with us.
I wrote a letter to TCI because of the kind service and the kindness that was given to me when we needed service. I'm a district manager for Family Dollar stores here in Detroit and Pontiac. And being the district manager over 16 stores, it's important for us to maintain good customer service day in and day out. If you don't give good service to customers, you don't maintain good service, you don't maintain a good company. And TCI, in my book, has certainly represented customer service to the nth degree.
On the Master Anglers, we bring you the hottest fishing action around the state of Michigan. From tips and techniques to advice and stories from the pros, the Master Anglers gives you the info you need to catch the big ones. Plus, it's just plain fun. That's the Master Anglers, Thursday nights at 8 on TCI Channel 63.
Welcome back to Troy High School. Dave Zorin along with Joe Abramson here for the first round of the playoffs where Detroit Henry Ford takes on the Troy Colts here at home. And Joe, from here you can see the advantage. You've got the middle of the field is just in terrible shape.
Yeah, they put a lot of that field drying equipment on the field, and Gary Griffith said, hey, you're not going to be able to kick from there, and Mike Marshall knows it too. Both teams are going to be slowed down, and it's going to have to be played outside the hash marks as far as getting any good games on offense. It should be a defensive struggle, which probably is a bit of an equalizer for Troy as far as neutralizing the team speed of Henry Ford.
And the Troy Colts will do the kicking off. The current records, you see them in the conference, 6-0 for Henry Ford, 7-2 overall, 5-0 for Troy, 8-1 overall. And again, we mentioned that loss.
Yeah, the loss to Pontiac Central, 8-0. But those two losses to Henry Ford are in the last 2 weeks. 2 weeks ago, 37-8 to Cass Tech in the PSL semis, and then in a crossover after that against Chadsey last week, they lost. And from what people say, they didn't look like they were really into that game. They were still down from the loss in the semis.
Quisenberry will do the kicking, and back to receive Arnell Carmichael. And number 19, Tyrone Ellis. They are back deep.
And we might get a good idea about the field conditions right away. Quisenberry's going to have to kick right off of one of those bad spots on the field. It wouldn't be surprising to see him go flying.
He goes full speed, loses his footing just a little bit. It goes short to about the 15-yard line, taken right away by Carmichael. Carmichael tries to break it outside where he can try to get some footing and is shy of the 25-yard line, and that's where Henry Ford will start the first possession for them, coming at about the 22-23-yard line.
Yeah, good coverage there by Mike Kutlich for Troy, and the Troy defense is going to have to rise to the occasion probably throughout the playoffs. And this is the same thing they did last year, though. They had a disappointing loss in the regular season, came on to win the state title, and Gary Griffith told us before the game they're really not disappointed about the way they've been playing in spite of what the papers might want to make you believe. He said, hey, they've been looking for the playoffs. They got their division championship. This is what they're playing for. They didn't want to go week to week. This is these next 4 games. This is what the season's all about to these guys.
The 7-yard return by Carmichael gets him out to the 23-yard line, and that's where Henry Ford will start with their new quarterback, Joseph Stanley, number 13. He hands off as they go off tackle, and still on his feet is Keel Watson. Watson, gain of about 3 or 4 yards. 3 yards on the gain. It'll be 2nd and 7 coming up.
Yeah, he probably shouldn't have gotten that much, but he kept his feet moving, and what we're seeing right now is something that Troy did a couple weeks ago against Pontiac Central. Number 4, Corky McCarthy, lines up with the nose guard. He's a small guy. He's about 5'11", 180, but he shoots through the line real quick and disturbs the backfield. And on teams that like to run a lot of option and sprint out a lot, he throws off the timing constantly.
Stanley, not a tall quarterback, 5'6", 150 is what he's listed at, and he takes it himself, tries to get outside, and no gain on the play as the Colts cut him off. It'll be 2nd and long.
Aaron
Looks like
Miles
he may have gained another, maybe a yard. We'll see where they mark it.
Yeah, Aaron Miles, one of their key defensive players all year. Seems to always have a big game whenever we come out here, and looks like he's on his way to doing that again.
3rd and long now, 3rd and 6 they're calling it for the Trojans as they split 3 receivers out, 2 backs in the backfield, and a passing down definitely here. Rolling out and looking, he's got a man but throws it short, intended out there for number 5, Barksdale, Anthony Barksdale. Had to try to slide and get that one, but it bounced well before him, Joe. And again, you can see where that field is coming into play here.
Yeah, you can't get your feet planted on the throw. You can't make the cut to make the pass. And again, that is a backup quarterback in Stanley. And we were told Sean Black, the regular quarterback, would be at wide receiver, but he's still on the sidelines. He hasn't seen the field yet. And take a look here.
His footing, and he had to sort of jump to try to get that one off.
Yeah.
Really wasn't pressured and didn't get much pressure out there. Still had plenty of time to throw.
No, but it is a new quarterback in a playoff situation, and that can affect you as much as anything.
So a 4th and punting down now for the Trojans. Back to receive for the Colts. 2 men back.
Yeah, and the kicking game can be factored hugely by the field conditions.
Corky McCarthy along with Chuck Connor back there to receive, and a flag flies. Could it be a delay of game here? Let's see what that is. It is. Trojans took a little too much time there getting set, so that knocks him back 5, and they'll have to do it over.
You know, when we talk about Aaron Miles always having a good defensive game whenever we come here, it seems whenever we do a Troy game over the last 2 years, Chuck Connor always comes up with at least one spectacular return.
And they're at about the 45-yard line, their own 45-yard line. What do? They draw Troy off sides.
Go back and forth with this.
Let's see who this goes to against. Well, so put it back to where it was. Let's see. Who was it? Yeah, it's against Troy. So the 5-yard penalty is brought back again 5 yards. So Henry Ford will punt from where they were going to originally.
And you get that encroachment call, and now everything's back to where it was, but you've wasted more time off the clock and made all these people that are real cold outside watch no action for the last 2 minutes.
They're punting from about their own 27. And Connor and McCarthy just moved back. Connor will take it at about the 43-yard line, and he goes to the opposite side of the field. If he beats one man, he could go quite a ways here, and he does. Inside the 35-yard line, a good return by Connor.
Yeah, and, you know, as good a return as it was, you saw the field come into play on that once again, and Chuck Connor, very aware of those field conditions, held up a little bit on his cut. But once again, Chuck Connor with a great return. We'll probably get a chance to see on this return where he slows up just enough to slow it down. A 24-yard punt return for Chuck Connor. Watch him turn the corner right after he gets the block. Right there. Slows down just enough so he doesn't lose his footing. You can see him feeling it go out from under him.
Connor at about the 33-yard line, and that's where the Troy Colts start their first possession. Hit just past the line of scrimmage, and the Colts having trouble there. Teron Adams there, no gain, Joe. Doesn't look like much.
No, and that's
1 yard.
You know, there's a couple of big fellas there on the line for Henry Ford, most notably number 33, William Ross, 6'1", 280 pounds. And, yeah, Teron Adams is going to have to get it outside where there's at least a little bit of footing, but there's really nowhere on that field that you can have good footing. We were on it earlier. It's just in lousy condition, and even the Troy people admit to that.
In motion goes Appledorn. Back to pass, Kyle Rance. His first pass is complete. Inside the 15-yard line, down there on the reception was Leonce Belton.
And great catch, great throw, and Leonce Belton with the catch. And Kyle Rance, who struggled a little bit over the second half of the season, he looked great in the opener against Clarkston, and he hasn't been the same lately. Looks real good here, and Gary Griffith told us before the game he had a great week of throwing in practice, and he was hoping that the wind wouldn't be too much of a factor because they'd like to get Kyle back in the flow of things.
The direction the Troy Colts are going, the wind is sort of at their back. It's coming a little bit from the northeast, or the northwest, excuse me. Adams on the carry, spinning at the line of scrimmage, gains maybe a couple, 2 or 3 yards on the play. It'll be 2nd down and 8 coming up.
Yeah, and you got Andre Brooks there. He's going to make a hit on him, and instead of trying to tackle him, he tries to strip the ball from him right here, and that allows Teron Adams to break away, get maybe 1 extra yard out of that play. You know, one of the other factors, we haven't seen him on the field yet, but Drew Patrick, the best receiver on the Colts team, has been out for the last few weeks. He may play today, but they would like to hold him out 1 more week if they can, get that ankle in better shape for next week.
Ball at the 10-yard line, 2nd and 8. Rance fumbles, and the Trojans have a bid to come up with a big turnover here.
Well, one official's already signaling 3rd down.
Yeah. Now 2 of them
Rance
are.
did fall on top of it.
Rance got it back. A big break for the Colts as Kyle Rance lost the ball and had a chance to fall on top of it. Let's take a look.
This is another thing where it is cold and wet, and they are able to strip him right there, number 53. That's Richard White, a sophomore, one of their younger guys. But it's also real cold, and Kyle Rance as a quarterback, he's one of the few guys not wearing gloves out there, and it's probably hard for him to grip the ball.
A lot of the fans in the stands wearing theirs. 3rd and a long 7. There's 6. Rance, plenty of time, unloads a bullet, and it's deflected. And just as he released, he got some pressure, but he stood back there pretty confident, Joe.
Well, he was confident because Joe Conley was in front of him blocking, and other than that, Kyle Rance would have been sacked about 2 seconds earlier. And Joe Conley did a great job of holding off the pass rush, allowed Rance to look for an open receiver and avoid losing any yardage. Take a look here. Got plenty of time to throw, and there's Conley after he let his block up, and just good coverage by Henry Ford. Now we'll see if the kicking game's going to work. We've watched him practice. This was a real struggle for both teams.
Strong wind blowing across the field. Attempt is up, and it is good.
Wow.
It is good, and the Troy Colts take the lead 3-0.
Kevin O'Meara, I'm sure he's kicked longer field goals in his career, but that may be, all things considered, one of the best field goals he's ever made. Because he was I was watching him in warm-ups about a half hour before game time, and he was looking not frustrated or anything like that. He was looking angry at the field conditions because you just can't plant your foot out there.
So here in the first quarter with 7:30 left, the Troy Colts take a 3-0 lead over Detroit Henry Ford.
And Mike Marshall, you see there in his 5th year at Henry Ford, he replaced the legend Joe Hoskins, one of the Hall of Fame coaches who'd been there forever and had put several guys, tons of guys into college, several guys into the pros, and Mike Marshall's done a tremendous job of keeping the tradition going there with the Trojans. And you're glad you wore your good shoes out in the field before the game, aren't you?
No, I didn't wear them on purpose today. I had a feeling it was going to be like this out there. But I didn't have any crummy shoes to wear either. So.
I had crummy shoes, so I wore those.
Yeah.
I went and found some Crony shoes.
Gary Griffith looks on as this Troy Colts lead 3-0 here. And the ball falls off the tee. We'll have to do it again.
Yeah, I'm trying to think what else you could have to make things worse. You got the wind, you got a bad field, it's 20 degrees or something like that. Hurricane maybe, it might make it worse, I don't know. They are rolling the Zamboni out at halftime, though, to resurface the ice.
That will help. Quisenberry to kick. This one right about the same place he had it last time and taking it. The Trojans, number 19, who got hit hard. That is Ellis, Tyrone Ellis.
And we'll see if the Trojans can get their offense going a little better than they did last time. They were 3 and out on the last return, and here's Ellis trying to get it to the outside, try to get to where you can get some good footing, but the Colt Colt kick coverage team is there quick enough that they don't allow him to get much yardage, and there you see that wind.
Strong wind blowing, 6 plays, 25 yards for the Colts, and the field goal by O'Meara gives the Colts a 3-0 lead here in the first quarter.
And still number 4, Sean Black, is on the sidelines, so that injury must be bad enough that they can't even play him a wide receiver so far.
Ball at the 20-yard line, 1st and 10 there for the Trojans. Stanley back to pass, has his man and overthrows him. Intended down there for Roosevelt Weidman.
Yeah, right now Stanley, the 2 times he's thrown the ball, he's been hurrying it, and I think he's anticipating more of a pass rush than he's getting. And again, maybe the nerves of a guy who's not your usual starting quarterback, but I have to wonder if it keeps going this way, will Mike Marshall go ahead and put Sean Black in there?
Clock stopped at 6:59 left here in the first quarter. Colts on top here in the early going. A lot of crunching going on down there. It was Keel Watson on the carry. He didn't get much. It'll be 3rd and a passing down coming up for Henry Ford.
And you've got pretty much the entire Troy Colt defensive line there, nailing him, Adam Atkins and Atar and Aaron Miles. And that's your typical Troy defense. And once again, a passing situation comes up for the Trojans, and you have to see if Stanley maybe takes a little more time, let his receiver finish his route on this play.
It's difficult for the quarterback Stanley to see off over that defensive line of the Colts. He's got a big defensive line to look over.
And he's only 5'6".
And he's only 5'6". Tough to look downfield. He unloads, intercepted, no. In and out of the hands of number 21 for the Colts, Frank McCormick. McCormick back there with his man. The receiver did not even adjust to that. McCormick did.
And the wind might have played with it a little. You can't tell. The ball wasn't throwing real hard. But it's not a bad idea to try and do this. You got to figure if you're not going to be able to run on these guys, and it is hard to sustain a drive against Troy, you think back to what the only team that beat them did. They happened to hit one 71-yard pass, and that's how they beat them. Maybe that's what you go for, is you try to get 1 or 2 of these plays that get you all of it in one shot and have a 2-play drive for a touchdown.
Back to receive, Connor and McCarthy again. This time it's McCarthy. And brought down at about the 45-yard line of Henry Ford. So the Colts, again with great field position, and a flag is down. Let's see where this one's going.
Yeah, it's just hard to return the ball out there. You can see McCarthy just couldn't make a cut on the return, and there was probably a hold or a clip, and that might even be because a blocker slipped.
Well, that'll bring the Colts back to their own territory. And it's a big penalty. It is a clip, and it brings them back to their own 40-yard line.
Now to see if they're going to let Kyle Rance throw from his own territory. They let him throw when they got the ball around the 30, but now that they're at their own 40, are they going to let him try and throw one maybe on first down here?
It's hard to see if we can pick up that clip.
The flag was 10 yards downfield of that.
It was way ahead of that.
Yeah, probably had nothing to do as far as helping the return.
Fumble again, and I think Rance recovered.
Rance or Conley, the two of them fell on it together. But once again, I think it's probably a combination of the wet field and the cold weather. You know, you had the gloves on out there, I didn't. And without gloves on there, your hands get numb so fast.
Yeah.
And at quarterback, very few coaches are going to allow a quarterback to wear gloves. I know Jim McMahon used to do it for the Chicago Bears. I've never heard him any. But something that Kyle Rance is going to have to deal with probably for the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Rance back to pass, looks downfield, has his man complete and hit hard at the 45-yard line.
That's Belton once again.
Yeah, that's Belton.
Same guy he hit before, and if they can keep hitting Belton, they're going to be able to avoid Drew Patrick, although Drew Patrick is in the game now, and he's alternating with Chuck Connor. He's going to come out for this play, but you watch him coming off the field, and he's limping badly. And a good hit there, and Belton hangs on. And Drew Patrick just doesn't look healthy, even walking along the sidelines.
Anthony Barksdale, number 5 for the Trojans, right there on the reception for the hit. Rance again to throw, has his man open, nobody over there covering Adams, and Adams picks up a first down and more inside Trojan territory.
Yeah, well, Chuck Connor goes downfield, and most of the defense went that way with him, so they're able to throw short to Tron Adams, and then he was able to make as much as he could out of the rest of the play. And I believe there's a flag down on the far sideline. And there is, and here you see Tron Adams get it and get the first down. And the penalty is going to be against Henry Ford, by the way. See if it's a late hit.
There, Adams with his big gain. And
I don't think that's a late hit, but maybe it is. Can't really tell from where we are. No. And I think that's a signal for a blow to the head, because it wasn't necessarily a late hit. The guy was kind of, slip sliding around there. And I think that's something you probably will see out here is plays that you might think are late hits. And I'm sure the officials know you got to give the benefit of the doubt that a guy's going to slip into you every now and then on this field.
So the penalty helps the Colts even more. They get it at about the 25-yard or 23-yard line, excuse me. 1st and 10 there. Big run by Adams as he breaks through the line of scrimmage for a touchdown.
Troy line, and even though it's hard to run up the middle, he was far enough to the right hash that he had a little bit of grass to play with as opposed to mud, and an easy touchdown for Teron Adams. Take a look at the blocking here. A good seal block by Atkins gets him through the hole. That was easy. That was real easy. That's right up the middle, but no one touched him. Adam Atkins and Mike Bauman and the rest of the line did a great job.
Now the extra point attempt. Strong wind out there. Here the kick is up and it is good. So Mira adds the extra point. And it's 10-0 Troy Colts.
And he's got to drink that fast before it turns into popsicles.
I'm surprised it's not freezing up down there. It is very cold out there. The wind is what's doing it pretty much.
Yeah, it's terrible. I know. I mean, you ask Mark Gomez, our cameraman down there, he says it's tropical, but, he's a tough guy.
Don't forget it, 2 years ago, Mark Gomez was the one who was frozen laying down in the end zone.
I think he's thinking about it after this game. I don't know.
We've got flurries. And the first snow of the season this week. Not any significant snow, but just some snow. There's Mark Gomez. He froze up on us 2 years ago.
He hasn't been the same since.
Yeah. After the game, was lying in the end zone, frozen, and we had to revive him. We had to call the paramedics and revive him down there.
Yeah, but they didn't want to touch him.
Actually, it was the athletic director who walked by and asked him if he was doing okay. And
he said, "Yeah, I'm taking a nap." So. He just said that he had been working too many hours that week and he wanted to take a little rest.
4:03 left in the first quarter, and the Troy Colts have a 10-0 lead. This one taken short by Clarence Gwynn. Gwynn hit hard by the Colts and does not reach the 30-yard line.
And Rob Benson just nailed him, and then Tom Appledorn came up and finished it off. A great hit by Benson. He seems to be everywhere on the kick coverage. That's their third kickoff and the third time he's been around the play.
Ball at about the 28-yard line. 1st and 10 there. Here's the Troy drive. 4 plays, 60 yards. 1:55 off the clock, helped by that big pass play to Adams, and then the penalty. Adams with a 22-yard run. And it's 10-0. Stanley to pass, has a man open and again overthrows him, and I really think that Troy Colt defensive line is giving him trouble.
Adam Adkins is 6'3", 260 pounds, and he put a big hand up in his face, and he had to try to lob it over there, and it's kind of like throwing a, if you relate it to basketball, it's like trying to throw an inlet pass to a posting center. You got to throw it over the guy he's posting up, and you have to put a little touch on it, and he put too much loft on it and got it over his receiver's head.
That was intended for Weidman again. And here come the Trojans. They have been pretty much shut out on anything they've tried to do offensively. Now they go to the shotgun. Try to buy him more time. He gets pressure, unloads, and overthrows the intended receiver, Carmichael. Carmichael had a chance, but also some interceptions could be coming. We got a flag down, and that one's going against Henry Ford.
Yeah, they had to hold. Dave Fritz got through there so quick and got to his legs and had him down, and they were still trying to hold him. Take a look here. You're going to see right there is actually not, well, I don't know if that's where they called it. It might have been somewhere else. I thought that's where the hold was because Fritz got through so fast, and it looked like a guy came from behind. Whatever it is, I got to wonder if Troy will take the penalty or the incompletion. It looks like the penalty.
On the replay, Carmichael has a good chance of catching it, too. There's the play that you're talking about.
Yeah,
so.
and I'm guessing that the hold happened somewhere else, if that's what the penalty was.
But Arnell Carmichael, a receiver, intended receiver there, had a great effort and almost came up with that one. Clock stopped at 3:27 here in the first quarter. It's been a long first quarter. And a cold one.
And we still haven't seen Sean Black, and I'm assuming that they're not putting him out there today.
Back in the shotgun again goes Stanley. Back, drops back even more. The screen, and they cover it well. Right there on top of it was Dave Fritz, number 87. And they get him inside the 5-yard line.
Yeah, Dave Miller caught the ball, and Dave Fritz, the guy who made the pressure last time on Stanley on the very last play, here covers the screen, and Adam Adkins almost tipped that screen pass down. But that's one of those where it's better for the guy not to make the catch at all, but instead Fritz is able to get him for a loss, and they've got third down and forever.
They're just inside the 5-yard line, and Henry Ford can't back up any further as the Colt defense has rose to the occasion so far here in this contest and really shut down Henry Ford. Their offense hasn't done anything.
And, this is something that, Gary Griffith almost laughed at us when we said, are you concerned about the way things have gone in the last weeks? He's like, no, listen to these guys out here in practice. They're all screaming and yelling and fired up for the game, and he's right. This is what they were waiting for this week.
Almost intercepted down there by number 21, McCormick again. And, well, Stanley has had some people open. Had that play worked, had he connected, he may have picked up some extra yardage.
Roosevelt
there.
Weidman wide open, and he wouldn't have gotten the first down, I don't think, but definitely would have gotten at least a little breathing room for their punter. As it is, they almost gave the ball back to Troy at about the 20-yard line or even inside of it.
Well, if you think the field is worn out now, this end of the field is really getting worn out. That's where all the play's been so far.
Yeah, and you got to think Troy's going to they'll probably, because of the field position, they're not going to be able to just let the clock run out and then get it going the other way to start the second quarter. But still, they got to feel real good about their chances now and then getting the good side of the field in the second quarter.
Timeout called now with 2:26 left here in the first quarter. And the Troy Colts and Gary Griffith, he's got to be happy about the way his defense is playing.
Oh, yeah, the defense is there. And really, though, I think he's got to be ecstatic about the way the offense is playing. The defense has never let up all year. Even the loss against Pontiac Central was one 70-yard pass. That's it. Nothing else happened. This is what they needed, is the offense. Kyle Rance has completed a couple of passes. Everything's
Don't forget, in January, TCI Sports, the game of the week, will bring you high school and college basketball Saturdays and Mondays at 8 p.m. right here on TCI 63. The flurries continue out there. The wind continues to blow, and it's a cold day. We saw the Colts fumble twice, and fortunately for Kyle Rance, he was able to recover both.
Yeah, it's just it has to be the cold weather and the wet ground that's been affecting it, but so far it hasn't hurt the team at all.
Fourth and punting down for the Trojans. They've got to get a good one off, and hey, they do. They get a good roll. McCarthy picks it up at about the 48-yard line. and brings it inside the 38, so a return of 10 for McCarthy, and again, great field position for the Troy Colts.
Yeah, good return for McCarthy. It looked like it might be a bad decision that he makes right here. He's going to come up, and I don't know if we're going to be able to see him get his hand on the ball right here. Tries to pick it up there. Now that he's touched it, he has to pick it up, and he still has plenty of room, so he decides not to fall on it and is able to get 10 yards back on the return.
Troy Colts start at their own 38. Excuse me, at Henry Ford's 38. They haven't started in their field position except for once. Adams gets it out to about the 35.
And it's pretty safe to say that if they're on the left hash, they're going to run left, and if they're on the right hash, they're going to run right. And it's going to be up to the defense to stop it because they know it's coming. And that's, again, just because of the conditions of the field. You want to get closer to the sidelines there. Teron Adams gets a nice 4-yard gain to start it off. And still Drew Patrick is alternating with Chuck Connor, and he's in there. But you can tell that he's not 100% yet at all.
Rance has an I formation, 2 receivers split out to the right. Rance to throw, has a man open downfield, complete, touchdown for the Colts.
It's healthy enough to score a touchdown, though.
Drew Patrick, touchdown.
And that's his welcome back party. He played a little bit against Troy Athens last week, but that's his first touchdown in a while. The guy's been hurt most of the second part of this season, and that's really hindered their passing game. And now Kyle Rance has got to have his confidence back. And tell you, the game's not officially over yet, but Catholic Central ought to be ready for next week.
The extra point attempt here. It is up, it is good. So O'Meara having a good day with a field goal and 2 extra points. And the Troy Colts, better yet, having a good day for themselves.
And that was Drew Patrick's welcome home party, I guess you could call it. Get back in that end zone where you belong. And he's doing that on a still gimpy ankle. You see him there. And if they can get a big enough lead, he's probably not going to play much more today. But that's got to do wonders for his confidence. And it's got to help Kyle Rance out, too. Something Gary Griffith told us a couple of weeks ago when they didn't have him in the lineup was that not too many other guys on the team have the hands Drew Patrick does. And Kyle's got such a strong arm that nobody else can catch it. And because nobody else does, Kyle was going back to his junior season style of throwing, which was lobbing the ball, and it just was floating over guys' heads and a lot of incompletions. If he can get his confidence back and start zipping it and going right for the guy's hands and having faith in the receiver to catch it, that's another weapon for them. And, I'll still say it that next week, I'm assuming they're going to play Catholic Central. That's the state championship game. The winner will go on.
And Quisenberry to kick off again. We've seen this a lot. 1:10 left here in the first quarter. The Colts now the low line drive kick. This will go into the end zone. No return.
Everything's going their way.
Yeah.
If that goes out of bounds, even at the 1-yard line, Henry Ford gets it at the 35. Now it's a 15-yard difference.
Yep. And that would probably be, in fact, it would be the best field position that the Trojans would have. But instead, they get it at the 20, and that's where they started last time.
And as you mentioned earlier, this is where all the action's gone on, and they've got 1 minute and 10 seconds worth of dealing with this quagmire before they can get down to the clean side of the field, and by then Troy might be on offense.
Yeah, and then Troy would be heading into the, like you said, the clean side of the field, which hasn't even been used yet. 2 plays, 38 yards for the Colts, 103, the 35-yard touchdown reception by Patrick from Rance. Here's the run, and the Colts stack this one up again. Right there is number 34, Belton, who's done it offensively, now comes up with a nice play defensively.
Yeah, well, if you're going to play for Troy, you're eventually going to have to do something defensively. That's part of the deal over here, and Belton definitely gives his contribution right there, along with Aaron Miles. And I don't know if Henry Ford should be able to run this clock out and get at least 1 play run on the good side of the field. If you bought tickets in the south end zone, so far you haven't seen much anything.
Clock running, 33 seconds. And counting down to the end of this first quarter. Stanley to pass, goes deep, ball's up for grabs. And that time, Carmichael played defensive back that time as he just knocked it down. He didn't even try to go for the catch. Let's take a look.
Well, Frank McCormick's got it. I mean, he's throwing it for Carmichael, and Frank McCormick's got it, and you hit it right on the head. He turns into the defensive back. And it's the second time McCormick's had good coverage, and it's an interception waiting to happen. And that's the best thing that could have happened for Henry Ford. They weren't going to get the completion.
Good coverage down there, and good coverage by the camera folks for TCI down there.
Yeah. Now it'll be interesting to see if they want to run or throw. If they run, they can at least run the clock out, and if they don't get the first down, they can punt from the other side of the field, have the wind at their back. If they throw, they're going to have to punt from here if it's incomplete.
Stanley, wide side of the field, and overthrows his intended receiver down there, number 21, Dave Miller.
And McCormick with good timing, and again, we bring this up almost every week, but that old high school rule about the ball not having to be catchable, McCormick timed it where he hit him just as the ball went over his head, so it's not interference. If the official thought in any way that McCormick hit him early, that's an interference call.
So again, the Troy Colts shut down the Henry Ford offense and forced them to punt. They have punted on every possession. Let's see what they can do here. They try to get it out of their end of the field, but they're punting into the wind. It's a good punt. It's out to about the 42-yard line, taken there by Connor. Connor using the sideline, has some blocks, and brought down by number 8, Andre Brooks.
Yeah, I'd be disappointed if we came to a game and Chuck Connor didn't have a couple of good returns. And he did, and that ends the quarter, so they get to start this possession out on the old clean side of the field. The only thing that side of the field's been used for is Troy kickoffs.
Yeah. Here's Connor's return.
You take a look at him, use the sidelines, and right here is where the field comes into play. He just can't make the cut like he wants to. The feet give out on him, and it allows the defender to come up and finish the tackle on him.
One of his downfield blockers really didn't sustain a block like he should have. He could have gotten some more yards.
Yeah, you really can't sustain a block, though, because part of sustaining a block is getting your feet planted.
Yeah.
And,
that's how tough it is out there.
Yeah, if you plant anything out there today, it'll grow.
Here's the TCI conference we've been showing you all season.
All right, let's go out on a limb. Let's say we're going to have 2 state champions.
Troy and Kimball.
Yeah.
Kimball undefeated, 5-0 and 9-0, taking on Grosse Pointe North.
It was supposed to be a pretty good team, but that's probably, you got to figure Kimball's going to win that, and that's going to set up a tremendous game next week against Pontiac Central, assuming Pontiac Central beats Seaholm, and they played once earlier this year and they won 33-7.
And they're playing right now over at Wisner Stadium.
Yeah, and a Kimball Central game would be huge. We saw Central out here, and they've got that offense, but Kimball, they shut down Berkeley, kept Berkeley out of the playoffs.
That's right. And that Berkeley team we had heard a lot about too coming into the that Kimball and Berkeley game.
Yeah. And that region is without a doubt the toughest in Class A this year. There's a couple of good teams not in the playoffs from there.
And now we start the second quarter here at Troy High School. Ball at about the 37-yard line. And look at this. Into the backfield goes Appledorn with a big first down and inside the 25-yard line. The Troy Colts now with, like you said, the good end of the field.
Yeah, and Dan Appledorn, his first carry of the game, he's been doing a lot of the blocking. And we saw Tom Appledorn make a nice tackle on defense. Now we see Dan on offense picking up a ton of yards right there. And, yeah, this is a little different offensive strategy here where you can probably make a cut or two.
Rance, the quarterback, ball at about the 23-yard line. He takes it himself, and he passes. I'll tell you what, he gets inside the 20.
He got more than we thought.
Yeah, that snake took off a little bit more than we did.
Yeah, you see him run the option, and he really didn't even try to sell the fake to Appledorn. I think that's why the defense was on him.
Yeah.
You know, we're talking about the two sides of the field being in opposite conditions, and definitely the first quarter had a lot to do with it, but even before the game, there was a difference, and part of it is that this is Troy's home field, and the left side's where they were doing all the warming up. Henry Ford did all the warming up on the right, and they got here late. There wasn't a whole lot going on over here in the pregame.
Yeah. Rance on a second down goes to the air on a slant in and intended for Belton, but covered well by number 20 down there. And, well, number 20 got his jersey back, looks like.
Well, 20 on the roster says Tyrone Ellis, but he's 19, and there is a 19 out there somewhere. Yeah. So we're not sure who this guy is, but Belton wants an interference, and he might have a legitimate complaint there. I think he got hit early.
That may be Keith Knox.
That could be.
That might be Keith Knox, one of the JV players.
Coach told us 40, and could be 20 because he wasn't sure.
I believe it could be. Rance fakes, takes it himself, and trying to get to the 15-yard line. It'll be a 4th down and short yardage coming up.
Yeah, Terrence Allen got him and wrapped him up. Never gave him a chance at the first down. Now you got a decision here. Do you want to go for the first down? And I don't think they're going to. O'Meara's already out there for the field goal. And right there you see him grab him and wrap him up. Good tackle by Allen. And Rance does a good job of leaning forward, getting a few extra yards. And this is probably a little easier kick in terms of field conditions, but the wind is more in his face.
O'Meara, 32 yards. Good high kick, and it is no good, just short.
Yeah, might have. Can't tell if that was wide or not as well, but
no, I think it landed right in the middle there, but just short.
Yeah, it's a tough angle from here, but I don't think it's going to really hurt them a whole lot.
On a 4th and about 3, when you have it that far, I don't know. I think you might have been all right to go for it too.
Yeah, that might be one of those getting ready for next week already. You don't want it. I mean, it's early in the second quarter. Game's certainly not over, but you can tell which team's controlling the line of scrimmage today.
Yeah, he doesn't really lose much either way. If he made it, he would add 3 points. If he didn't make it going for it, he wouldn't have had anything either. So good call by Gary Griffith. And now the Trojans take it. Look at this.
Now, this is something Griffith was waiting for all day. He expected this. And so did Schwayhat expected it as well, and he was able to make the stop. And this is something they saw a couple of weeks ago against Pontiac Central with Dante Robertson. They're all-world, all-everything, multi-position player. It's get it to the quarterback and let him run a straight sweep without even faking anything. And they know it's coming, and they're able to stop it. This is the play they usually run with Sean Black, though. And again, it's one player does not make a team, but they are missing.
They sure are. The loss. Now 2nd and 12. There you see the clock. We're in the second quarter here of the first round of the playoffs. The Troy Colts against Detroit Henry Ford here on the handoff. Ford with one of their bigger gains of the day right there, and that is what this side of the field will do. It'll help you out. You've got some footage there, and you can pick up some yards. Keel Watson on the carry.
Yeah, Keel Watson able to get him a 3rd and 6, but I don't think they've gotten a first down yet in the game, and we're almost 9 minutes left in the first half. And as good a play as that was, if he gets the same yardage this time, it won't be a first down yet either.
3rd down now for the Trojans, 3rd and 5. As Joe said, Trojans yet to pick up a first down. They need one here badly. Stanley pressured by Kyle Rance, and he gets some roll-off.
Tackle for a loss.
Kyle Rance with the sack, and the assist, I guess you'd have to call it, to Adam Adkins and Corky McCarthy. They flushed him out as well, and Rance was able to finish it. Just tremendous 3-man pressure from these guys. They get through so quickly, and Stanley at 5'6" can't even begin to look for an open guy. And Rance is able to get him, and you see number 2, Keel Watson. He can't block all 3 of them. He's got to pick one. He picked McCarthy, and Rance went through and made the sack.
Yep. So 4th and punting down again for the Trojans. The pressure put on him, and he just got that one off. It'll bounce at about the 43-yard line and go out to about the 47-yard line.
Yeah, that's the first
so
time.
Again, the Troy Colts with great field position.
Yeah, it's the first time they didn't get to return it. Take a look here. Frank McCormick's almost going to block this. He gets in fast, and as cold as it is, that would have really hurt to block this punt. There's McCormick come flying through, and man, if I'm that punter, just take a dive right there. You might be able to buy a penalty off.
You never know. If a ref's not looking, sees you down on the ground, he may throw it.
If he sees just the littlest contact and you happen to catch him at the right moment, you can. I've known of a few high school players try to fool an official.
1st and 10, Adams, wide open hole, and look at him bust into the backfield.
Oh, man.
Close to a first down.
Oh, and Carmichael with the tackle, and a good thing he made it because Adams was about to bust outside, and he had a downfield block set up with Chuck Connor, and he was going to gain at least 10 more. Take a look right here. You're going to see the tackle made right there, and if he gets out right here, you see Chuck Connor was going to make that block, and Adams saw it, and he was trying to make the cut outside, and that was another 10, 15 yards maybe.
2nd and a long yard coming up here. Kyle Ranch looks it over. I formation in the backfield. 2 receivers split. They go to the air, and they surprise him by going to the air. Oh, and just knocked away by Dave Miller.
Good coverage.
The pass intended for Belton, and Miller knocked it away at the last second.
Great coverage, and
a good call, too, because you've got 2nd and 1. Hey, why not? You got an extra play here.
Absolutely. Go deep with it. And the throw's right there. This is just good coverage, and nothing Kyle Rance could have done differently, nothing that Belton could have done differently. Just that the coverage is there for a change.
Teron Adams, 5 carries, 37 yards on the day. Not a bad way to start here in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, and one of the things that you got to think now is that you want to not pile it on too much right now, but you want to be able to get these guys out of there by the 4th quarter.
Adams picks up the first down and more down the sideline. 1 man to beat. And he bumps him out of bounds inside the 15-yard line. Inside the 10.
And once again, it's Arnell Carmichael who made a not necessarily a touchdown-saving play previously, but saved a few yards. That time it is a touchdown-saving play. And Teron Adams having a great game so far and busting it outside. And as we said, it's harder to run up the middle, but you get outside and tiptoe on the sidelines a little bit.
That was close.
There. 21-yard gain for Teron Adams, and he's more than halfway to 100 now.
1st and goal. Ball at about the 8-yard line. Colts on the move. Adams again gets the carry inside the 5 to the 3.
Inside the 5.
This is the Troy offensive machine that we saw against Clarkston. And
the very first game of the season.
You know, when I saw that first game, I thought this team, there's nobody's going to beat them, even Catholic Central. Nobody could touch these guys. And a couple weeks ago when we saw Pontiac Central, you didn't see it, but I couldn't believe it. I was like, who are you guys and what did you do with the Troy team? And now they look like they're back.
Full house in the backfield for the Colts. Watch for Adams again. He'll get it. Adams, second effort, gets him close.
They're not going to give it to him.
Adams down inside the 1. Gain of 3.
He's got a couple inches to go, and then this is probably where you take your 6'6" quarterback and let him fall down forward for the touchdown. And good second effort by Teron Adams right here, though, trying to lunge for that first down, and a good call, because not only did it not hit, but his knee hit sooner.
Reminds me of the Florida State game the other night against Virginia when at that last second.
Don't talk to me about
last second there. Rance takes it himself, and he gets in for the touchdown.
Yeah, that's the most obvious
call. That caps off the big drive here in the second quarter.
Yeah, that's the most obvious call in the world. You got half a foot, and your quarterback is as tall as he is. You just let him fall forward. You know he's going to get the touchdown.
So Kyle Rance on the 1-yard plunge. And the extra point attempt by O'Meara.
And I think it's safe to say that anyone who thought that the Troy Colts were done was grossly mistaken.
And the defending state champions take a 24-0 lead here in the first round of the playoffs.
What's that saying? Rumors of their death were greatly exaggerated?
Yeah. They've got a bright future ahead of them now if they can continue this. And I'll tell you what, Henry Ford
like I say,
got a lot to do at halftime to make adjustments here.
Yeah, like I say, I know we've got more than a half of football left, but if you want to see a good game next week, go watch these guys play Catholic Central, because I'd be surprised if the winner of that game doesn't win the state championship. It's kind of like last year in basketball when Country Day played Orchard Lake St. Mary's in the second round. That was the state championship game. It was just a matter of finishing it off. And I'm sure that's what it's going to be, barring injuries to either of those teams.
Have you had a chance to see Catholic Central this
year? Oh, yeah.
So no prediction?
They beat Brother Rice. I hope Troy kills them.
Joe, of course, coming from Brother Rice, his alma mater. So
Catholic Central's real good, though.
That's okay.
They're
You've had a chance to see both offenses and defenses. How do they match up pretty well?
The defenses are dead equal, and if this Troy offense shows up, they'll win. If the Troy offense against Pontiac Central shows up, Catholic Central wins.
And there is the Troy offense. 6 plays, 47 yards, 2:23 off the clock. The 1-yard plunge by Rance.
Now, the one thing CC does have is a kicker who can kick legitimately a 60-yard field goal. and his name's Cosmo. Can you believe that?
Ball goes out of bounds at about the 25, and
Best field position.
I would take it if I were Henry Ford, and I think they will.
They'll get it at the 35 because of that penalty. This
that's
is going
right.
to be the
they
best.
Get it automatically at the 35.
Best field position of the day for the Trojans.
So a big break for Henry Ford as they get the ball outside the 20. They've rarely had it past the 20-yard line on a first possession, and they will get it at the 35 right now. So that's the best field position that they've had in this game, their own 35.
You know, and right now, you know, it's kind of a traditional thing there. You know, you don't want to, overstate something negative about a particular league, but PSL teams, they all think about the PSL title, and some people had told me that once these guys were out of the PSL race, they kind of lost interest, and they're kind of playing like they've lost interest right now. And PSL's always got some good players and good teams, but the fact is there's never been a Detroit PSL team to win a state championship. And until it happens, you just can't believe that it's gonna.
So there's some history behind what you're saying there, Joe, and I found it hard to believe that they would give up when you're in the state playoffs.
Yeah, I guess, but when you think about when the PSL title is such a big deal to you, sometimes I guess it can dishearten you too much. Now they've even got to delay a game here on first down. And I found it hard to believe too, but again, this was a few people I had talked to who had talked to coaches who had scouted them who said that's the impression they got of them last week, and I was a little shocked, but they were right.
So far.
Yeah.
And there's an offsides, and they're going to knock back even more. They just had first and 15, and now they're going to go back another.
Well,
Another 5 yards.
Have you ever seen the movie The Best of Times?
Yes, but have you ever seen the Roadshow video?
Every week.
Have you seen this edition, the Renaissance Festival edition?
I miss Seinfeld every week for
well,
this.
This is the best one with Henry VIII there, Pat Collar, and Bubba Wicker.
So he'd be number 8 there? Oops. Anyway, yeah, the procedure call is just literally the receiver was 20 yards downfield because he thought it was on 1 and it was on 2.
There it is, the biggest play of the day right there for Henry Ford as they get a completion out across the 40-yard line, and Carmichael on the reception.
Yeah, he owed him that. He's the guy who went offsides on the previous play, but it's still not a first down.
Yeah, but they're in the best position they've been in a long time. 2nd down and 5.
Without a doubt, this is their best opportunity.
Yeah.
And if they want to have a chance at all of winning this game, they have to score. They can't go down. They can't go in down 24-0 or possibly worse.
Stanley, the quarterback, calls out the signals, and they go to the air again. He's got him down the sideline and a long way to throw, Joe, down to the far sideline. They're on the far right hash, and he was thrown off to the left side.
I never understand those plays unless you've got a quarterback with just a rocket arm. You're trying to gain 5 yards by asking your quarterback to throw the ball 40 yards.
That's a long
almost
throw.
A 40-yard throw to gain 5, and to ask him to pinpoint it like that.
And of course, then you got the
quarterback.
Then the defender can make the adjustments also and pick off. And if he did pick it off, there's nobody to catch him.
40 yards downfield makes the defender sprint. 40 yards sideways makes the defender just alter his coverage a little.
Here's Stanley rolling out this way, throws and had Carmichael, but just in and out of his hands.
And Teron Adams had his hands on it more than Carmichael did.
Yeah.
He actually got knocked down by McCormick, and they're talking about it now. And
the Troy defensive backs have got to be licking their chops right now back there because they're looking for another interception. The flurries are starting to intensify. There you see the pass play.
Oh, and you got to figure, when you've got a 24-0 lead, you want the weather to get ugly. And Troy, and this is, you couldn't ask for anything more for them. They'll take a 24-0 lead and just sit on it.
Just under 5 minutes left here in the second quarter. 4th and punting down. They're trying to draw the Colts off sides.
It would get them a first down. Troy knows it's coming, and now you get...
and you got the entire offensive line.
Well, yeah. That might be something that you're told to do, too.
Yeah.
If you can't draw them, just take the procedure. And although, the delay of game is no different. But that's... it's worth a try. That was the closest they were going to get to a first down. You might as well go for that.
Yeah, they're trying it against a well-disciplined defending state champion team, and they didn't budge. Yeah. So it's 4th and 10 and punting down.
But now that the 5-yard penalty doesn't hurt you if you're Troy, maybe you do jump. And boy, that looked shaky, too.
Yeah. The punt is off, fielded there by Connor at the 35. Connor, twisting, turning, still on his feet, finally down at about the 38-yard line, and that's where the Colts will start in their own territory, Joe.
And Fritz and McCarthy were trying to get him a couple of blocks, and he just wasn't able to get his footing. Take a look at this. He's going to try and set up a return, and everything just gets a little congested in here, and he's not able to get the return set up at all. And wisely just falls forward, and still decent field position for Troy. This might be as bad a field position as they've had, but when your worst field position is your own 38, you're doing something right.
There you see Connor pulling out to the right side of Kyle Rance, I formation, 2 receivers split. The handoff to Adams. Had he bounced it outside, but again, that's tough with that footing out there.
If he bounced outside, he might have gone flying.
Yeah. It's tough with that footing. That is where that came in. Take a look. He has to go where the play was designed. He had no chance of running outside on that.
Yeah, the conditions do limit your options and your creativity as a running back. And Tryon Adams on an AstroTurf field or a normal dry day probably does bounce that outside. And maybe if it's a tighter game too. I think here you play conservative.
Second down, the handoff goes to Appledorn, and he gains maybe a yard or 2 there. It'll be 3rd down and about 4 or 5 coming up here. Let's take a look.
Yeah, and if you're Troy, what you're thinking now is that your worst case scenario is the clock's running with 3:39. You see Appledorn just busted off, tackle, and gain about 2 yards, give him a 3rd and 5. Your worst case scenario is that you run here and you don't make the first down and you punt. Henry Ford's going to get the ball back maybe with 2 minutes and 30 seconds, 2 minutes and 40 seconds by the time they'd actually be able to run a play, and that's going to be hard for them to score with that little time. So that's the worst case scenario. The best case scenario is that you bust it for a touchdown right here.
In motion goes Adams. Conley's the only back there, and he's going to block for Rance. The throw goes out to Adams, and he's down right about the line of scrimmage. So it'll be 4th and a punting down for the Colts. This will be the first time they've had to punt.
Yep, but very importantly for Troy, Adams did catch the ball, so the clock's running, and they are definitely going to take their time. Take a look here. He's just not able to elude the one tackler. You're asking Tryon Adams to catch the ball and go one-on-one with the guy, and again, with that field, it's hard to make the cut that you have to make to take a defender one-on-one.
The Colts to punt. Low line drive, good bounce for the Colts. No return as it goes inside the 25 to about the 23-yard line, and that's where Henry Ford will start now.
Yeah, good punt for Brian Searing, considering it's into the wind, and he hadn't had to do anything since warm-ups. He's probably getting bored.
The snow is coming down, and it's basically coming down horizontally. That's how strong that wind is.
Now, the wind is at Henry Ford's back, and who knows, maybe you try to take somebody, sprint him downfield, and just throw it up, put up in the air and hope for a lucky catch or a great catch or something. At least get yourself a first down, maybe get a touchdown. But again, they've only got 2:28 and the clock's running, and they've got a long way to go.
Ball at the 24, 1st and 10. Stanley's pass in and out of the hands of number 5, Anthony Barksdale.
And you wonder if he heard some footsteps because Belton's behind him ready to kill him.
Barksdale's had a couple of chances to come up with a reception. They've had a few receivers. They've had some receivers open, and unfortunately they haven't been able to hook up. Either it's the quarterback overthrowing them or the receivers not handling the ball. So they've had some opportunities.
And you wonder sometimes with the quarterback overthrowing them, I wonder sometimes are they running the right routes, though, because the routes aren't real crisp. And the routes are hard to run because, again, you are slipping if you have to make a cut on any of those routes, and the timing can be thrown off. So all kinds of factors come into that. But, yeah, they have had opportunities.
Stanley back to pass. Fakes and unloads deep. He's got him in. If he just had any footing and had a chance to catch up to that ball, Arnell Carmichael was the intended receiver, but it was overthrown.
That's what we were talking about earlier, though. That's the exact same thing Pontiac Central got on Troy. You get one deep throw, and you never know what might happen. And here, you got a blitzing guy coming in on you, and I believe that was Schwayat, and it was, and he got blocked, and it allowed quarterback to step up. And Stanley was able to just buy a little time and go deep and overthrow him. And the wind probably took it a little bit, too. That is the wind at his back.
It was a heck of a pass for the little guy. Got it off.
Yeah, in fact, the difference between that and the Pontiac Central game was that the one against Pontiac Central was into the wind, and it was overthrown, and the wind brought it right back to the receiver's hand.
Stanley, deep drop back, look for the screen, and he's got him. And a good defensive play down there by number 54. That is Atar, Sebastian Atar, and we've called his number a lot this season.
Oh, man, and you can hear him screaming. That is a fired-up team. And I'll tell you, that is not what they sounded like against Pontiac Central. Even when it was 0-0 and it was a tight game, they didn't sound like that. These guys, this is what they've been waiting for. You know, you're not supposed to look ahead to the playoffs, but I got a feeling they looked ahead to the playoffs back in camp in August.
Timeout call down on the field as Ellis gets shut down on that play.
Yeah, Troy's got a chance to put more points on the board before halftime, and, you know, if things aren't going well enough for Troy, it's 4th down. They're about to get the ball back, and it stopped snowing, the winds let up, and the sun just came out. They're going to get just enough good weather to get another touchdown on the board.
Don't forget to tune in to Transition right here on TCI 63 as your host, Jeffrey Miller, tackles tough issues like racism, poverty, and current local problems. Join Jeff Miller on Transition Wednesday and Friday at 9 on TCI 63. And you see the cold wind blowing.
It's still cold even with the sun out.
Those are true fans out there, I'll tell you.
Yeah, those look, well, they probably have something to do with the football team. They're actually on the field,
why.
so yeah.
They're real fans. They get a chance to go down on the field. So they're here. They have something to do. They can go down on the field and stand down there.
Stand on that cold, wet grass.
which we were doing before the game.
Man.
My feet are still wet and cold. Punting down for Henry Ford. They've got to get it away here. Ooh, a high snap, and it's blocked. And anybody's ball, and the Troy Colts
now
pick it up, and a penalty flag down. Let's see what happens.
McCormick got the block, and I don't know who did what, but that was thrown well after the play ended, which usually indicates personal foul.
Yeah.
Okay. You know what he's saying?
Oh, yeah.
He blocked the ball.
He blocked the ball, so...
Touched the ball, so it's not roughing the kicker.
That's what it was, then.
I was going to say, you can't call roughing the kicker on this.
If you block the ball.
And
so
McCormick
they do block the ball and then hit the kicker right there.
Yep.
And here, had Carmichael picked up the ball and ran with it, he could have picked up the first down, but the Colts stop him.
Yeah, I'm not even sure what the rule is on that.
Well, if they pick it up, if it's touched by a Colt player, which it was on the block,
it's got to be touched on this side of the line of scrimmage, though. I don't think he can return that. We'll have to ask, but I don't think he can get a first down on that unless he were to pick it up. I think he had to pick it up behind the line of scrimmage. Mm-hmm. There's all kinds of not silly rules, but confusing rules.
Yeah.
And that's one of them.
I thought since the Troy player touched it first, that means it's anybody's ball.
You know, I've thought that before too, but I've thought of times where it's been deflected a little and gone downfield maybe 20 or 30 yards, and the offense comes down to down it. Mm-hmm. They don't get the ball. It's the the return team's ball there.
Even though it's past the first down marker?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all
it didn't happen.
Line of scrimmage. Exactly. It doesn't matter. Troy recovered it, and they got plenty of time to score a touchdown.
Gary Griffith talking it over. 136. That is plenty of time. The ball is just outside the 20-yard line.
You know how things are going well? Troy's on offense, and Gary Griffith is near one of his players.
Yeah.
Things are going well.
I remember, you were pointing that out before.
Well, you know what's funny? Against Pontiac Central, he was back down the other side. Now he's back with his guys. Probably telling them what time practice is.
Here's the play
tomorrow.
again. The block will come first, and that allows the player to run into the kicker
now you do whatever you
without
want
a penalty. Now the ball is almost picked up by Carmichael, but
Atar got we'll have to ask an official about that rule just for our own knowledge.
Colts came up and look at this. A big play defensively by Henry Ford as they drop Rance and hit him hard.
Oh.
Down at the 30, and Rance is in trouble. He's getting up slowly.
This is something they can't afford.
And he is staying down.
That's one of your best defensive and offensive players.
Looks like his hand or his arm was crunched. He was hit on all sides.
Ooh. And, the funny thing is, Gary Griffith is probably trying to get a touchdown here just so he can do what we're thinking, take these guys out of here, and that might not have gotten him out soon enough.
Rance was hit hard on all sides. They had one coming from the left, the right, and the middle, and he's coming off for a play. Let's see if we can see it here. He's got it from both sides and one up the middle, too. Watch this.
And he takes a shot right in the ribs.
Yeah, and then another guy comes in at the end here up the middle. So
yeah, I think it's just a shot in the ribs. And, you know, part of that, I think, too, is the cold weather probably knocked the wind out of him a little. It's just harder to breathe out there. It probably looked worse than it really is.
Yeah, well, let's hope so for Rance and the Colts.
Now, Quisenberry gets his one shot at quarterback now.
Quisenberry in there, the second down, rolls out, pressured, will take it himself, then go out of bounds, and down. The clock is still running.
Yeah, the official's telling him to keep it going.
Yep. His knee had hit the ground in play, so the clock still runs. And a timeout, Troy, with 50 seconds left.
Now, I'll be curious if they're going to send Rance back in.
Yeah, he's going back in. Rance goes back in.
And the other one I'd like to see, Drew Patrick hasn't played since he caught the touchdown pass. And, again, we didn't think he would play a lot if they had a lead. But do you send him in for this one play to try to get one more touchdown? I say no, because look what almost happened to you 2 plays ago.
The Oakland Press Perspective with your host, editor Neil Monroe, as he brings you a program designed to enlighten you on issues that affect Oakland County. The Oakland Press Perspective airs Friday night at 8:30 right here on TCI 63. And you see the Colts and Kyle Rance back in the huddle, which is a good sign for them.
And you wonder, are they going for the touchdown here, or are they just trying to get better field goal position?
I think they're going to go for all of it here.
At most, they have one timeout left. They might not even have any. I'm not sure. But third down and about 19.
It's going to be tough kicking into the wind. The wind has been coming from the northwest, and that would be kicking right into it.
This is a formation we haven't seen at all today.
No. Rance deep, it's a screen. Adams has some blocks. Rumbling, bumbling, and stumbling inside the 20-yard line. And
that almost got picked off.
It did. It's something we haven't seen before.
Wow. Well,
but I had to use the Chris Berman line for you.
Rumbling. Thank you. You should have done the he could go all the way.
Because that was a perfect play. Here he's rumbling. Okay.
All right.
Here he's stumbling.
You're right.
And then he'll be...
Oh, and he's fumbling.
And he's fumbling. They missed that one at the very end. Good thing we've got the replay.
Yeah, well, see,
there's a new word added.
Exactly.
So Adams...
Yeah, well, Troy's got another timeout here with fourth down, and I guess they're going to go for it.
Yep. Adams gets inside the 20. Still a long kick for O'Meara into that wind.
You know, when you think about the fact that did almost get intercepted, if that gets picked off and run back, that does change a lot of this game. That changes momentum. It's 24-7, and Henry Ford goes in with a little confidence.
33.
Kenny Phillips is looking at me like, don't try to sell this game. Don't try to sell this game any more than you have to. Come on. I'm not saying Henry Ford's going to win that.
Fourth down. Here we go.
But that might keep Kyle Rance in the game in the third quarter if that would have happened.
Yeah. Can they pick up a first down with 33 seconds? Sure they can. Let's see what Rance does. He's got his man open. He got the first down. He fumbled the ball. And picked up by Henry Ford at the 1-yard line.
Oh, man. He hit Ryan Searing, got the first down, and they were just hoping that was going to roll out of bounds. If it had, actually, Troy would have had the ball at the 1-yard line or so. As it is, Henry Ford's pinned deep in their own territory, but they're able to avoid another Troy touchdown.
Kevin Moore with the fumble recovery. Let's take a look. Colts have it. The good play here. Good call. They pick up the first down and had a chance to get another play, but a fumble here, as you see it just go right out of the arms of Searer.
Yeah, and Searing fumbled, but that was because Andre Brooks came behind and punched it out of his hands. And that play was made possible, at least offensively, the fact that Belton cut across the middle and kind of crisscrossed the defense. That got Searing wide open. Play worked except for the fumble.
Excuse me, that was Searing, Brian Searing. And here comes Henry Ford. Look at this! Can lightning strike? Can they catch him? They finally do.
No, they don't.
No!
Oh, my.
He's tippy-toeing down the sideline. Finally goes out of bounds inside the 20. And I thought they had him out of bounds earlier, but no. He stayed in. And a big run there by Watson, Keel Watson. Take a look.
And wouldn't you know, this is the side of the field we don't have a camera on this sideline, but what a run. Breaks a tackle here. Looks like McCormick's got the angle on him.
And here's where I thought he went out of bounds.
Let's
right
see.
there.
Nope. High steps, still going. And right here, when this tackle gets missed by Benson, and Watson just can't keep his balance in bounds.
What an effort. Thought they had him a couple times, and Keel Watson stays in bounds. So
it's one of the longest runs you'll ever see that doesn't go for a touchdown.
Henry Ford making a bid to get on the scoreboard here. 7 seconds left. They're throwing into the end zone. Almost.
They got one play left, and you know what's funny is if
good
that thing
coverage.
McCormick could have been run back. McCormick could have picked that off and run back
and gone the other way.
There was no one near him.
3 seconds left, so one play left here for Henry Ford.
Yeah, you take a look here. They're trying to run a fade pattern to the corner, and right here off. I'll tell you, if Carmichael doesn't tip that, McCormick could go.
Yeah. And again, the flurries are coming down. You can see they're almost coming down. Yeah, they are. You can see it's coming down sideways. The wind is so strong.
It's snowing. I don't like this.
Joe, not too happy with the winter weather.
And our director, Beavis, is making fun of me.
Back to pass. Stanley has time. Look at this. Takes it himself. He's got some room to run, but they finally close in on him at about the 15-yard line.
They're going to let him do that with 3 seconds left.
Sure.
That's a little inexperience there. You've got to throw it up. If nothing else, throw it up for grabs in the end zone.
Might as well. Let's take a look.
Yeah,
he's got all day, but everybody's hanging back, and that's why I thought maybe he'll do something with the run, but everybody converges on him here.
Against some teams, maybe you're not going to do this against Troy.
No.
They know what they're doing. They're going to let you gain. They'll let you gain some yardage here. That's fine too, because you've got no more plays to run.
And that will end the first half, and a long first half here. Not for the Troy Colts. They've scored 24 points, but for Henry Ford, as they have to try to regroup and get something going offensively, as the Troy Colts have shut them out here in the first half, 24-0. We'll be back with some halftime stats for you right after these messages. Stay with us. If you wish a video cassette of TCI Sports, the cost is $25. Send a check payable to TCI, along with your name, address, and the names of the teams that played in the game, to TCI Sports Videotapes, 4500 Delamere Boulevard, Royal Oak, Michigan, 48073. Remember to tell us which game you wish to receive. And thank you for watching TCI Sports.
What TCI is looking to do is we're looking to be a full-service provider, a one-stop shopping place, if you will. We're looking to provide all the services that anyone wants to consume in the area of communications, whether that's cable television, whether that's telephone, whether that's data, online services. Our goal is to be able to provide all those through one avenue, and that avenue being TCI.
Coming up this winter, TCI begins its 10th season of high school and college basketball on the TCI Game of the Week. Each week on Channel 63, you'll catch all the action as the area's best teams match up. And the coverage is what you've come to expect from TCI Sports. Don't miss it. The TCI Sports Game of the Week, coming up this winter on Channel 63.
It's the way you inspire. It's the way you grow. It's the way you lead. It's the way you play. It's the way you work. It's the way you discover. TCI. It's the way you learn. It's the way you learn.
Well, welcome back to Troy High School. Dave Zorin along with Joe Abramson as the Troy Colts lead the Henry Ford Trojans 24-0 here at halftime. And some halftime coverage here. We get a chance to recap that first half for you. Here are the first touchdown after Troy kicked a field goal, 3-0 here. Adams on a 22-yard run makes it 10-0. And that pretty much set the tone for the rest of the game, Joe.
Offensive line dominated on that play, and they've been doing it ever since.
Again, now this in the first quarter with 1:10 left in the first quarter. Kyle Rance to Patrick for 35 yards, and he goes in easy.
And that meant a lot more than just 6 points. That's kind of bringing him back into the scheme of their offense a little bit.
At that point, 17-0 now in the second quarter with 5:41 left. Kyle Rance takes the 1-yard plunge there for a 24-0 lead, and that's where we stand right now. Here are the stats for you at halftime. Passing yards for Henry Ford, 3. Rushing, 84. Total yards, 87.
Explain that, though.
Explain that.
One play.
All one play.
All on one play, and it's not a touchdown.
It was that run down the sidelines, and that's where they got it, if you're wondering where that came from. And look at the Troy side. 103 passing, 83 rushing for 186 total. But it's a little more lopsided, like you said. All that coming on one play for them rushing-wise.
And the turnover came late on the 4th down play when they made the play but fumbled it away. The time of possession would be worse except for one thing. Troy never has the ball in their own territory. They always get on the other side of the 50 and only score in 3 or 4
short
plays.
Drives, yeah. And another telling tale was that only one first down made by Henry Ford.
And that was, again, the long 80-whatever yard run.
Yeah, and that was the only first down that they picked up. So it's been a lopsided first half in favor of the Troy Colts, but hey, that's the way Kyle Rance would like it right now. He is 7 of 10 for 103 yards passing, and he's done it pretty quietly.
Real quietly, but very effectively. And I'll tell you what, we talked about that the rumors of the Troy Colts' death were grossly exaggerated. Well, the rumors of his demise himself. Kyle Rance is looking like the guy we saw week 1, not like the guy that we heard about the last couple of weeks.
Right. Teron Adams, 9 carries, 67 yards so far, 1 touchdown. And watch for him to get over that 100-yard mark also.
Yeah, the only thing that's going to stop him is that they might not need him.
Henry Ford will kick off to start the second half here. And there you see Stanley, the quarterback, 3 of 15. That you see the attempts and completions there. It's actually the other way around. 3 of 15 is what he is.
And remember,
and 3 yards.
He's not their normal starting quarterback. Sean Black's injured. He's not playing. And I'm not sure if we're going to see Kyle Rance after they get the ball back, because I see Quisenberry warming up.
The kickoff. Deep. Back to about the 12-yard line. Connor. And he's brought down at about the 25. So the Troy Colts will start in the mud and the muck. And they'll try to make their way into greener pastures, if you will, on the other side of the field.
And Kyle Rance is on the field, and this is the worst field positions Troy's had.
Yep.
We've got to mention a good tackle made there by number 8, Andre Brooks. He's the guy that forced the fumble late in the second quarter. He's had a pretty solid game defensively, but it's just one of those things, one guy can't make every play for a team.
The Troy Colts starting for the first time deep in their own territory at the 25-yard line. Rance fakes to one man. Adams gets it at the second man through, and a lot of room to run. Close to a first down, but he'll be shy about a yard or so.
And Teron Adams had a pretty solid year. It's funny, last year was the first time in a long time that Troy didn't have a 1,000-yard rusher because Teron Adams had been injured a little bit. But here you can see him just getting a little more confident in his footing, as bad as that field is. But this year, Teron Adams brought back that 1,000-yard tradition. 183 carries, 1,186 yards, 6.5 yards a carry, and he scored 13 touchdowns. A real solid year.
Excellent year. There you see the head coach on the other side, Mike Marshall, for Henry Ford. This time carrying hard and not getting too much that time. Number 40, and that is Joe Conley.
It's Conley's first carry. I think he got the first down.
Let's
see.
see.
You only need about a yard.
He got enough for the first. Thought it was going to be close, and it was, but he picked it up. So Joe Conley, not getting much, but enough for the first down right here on this carry. It's the Colt first down, and that's going to help them get out of their own end of the field.
And now they run Teron Adams back onto the field. And still Drew Patrick hasn't played since that touchdown, and probably can assume we're not going to see him until they play next week.
Two receivers split up top for Kyle Rance. Fake given to the second man, Adams. Teron Adams gets close to the 40. And it'll be second and about 7 coming up.
And again, they're still in that the cow pasture part of the field.
Yeah.
Trying to get to the other side of the 50. And this time they're running basically a 3-man rotation on running backs. Now Conley comes out for Appledorn. It's basically you stay in for 2 plays and come out for 1. And the only thing is that Adams will never have to play fullback.
Or I hope not.
No, it's Appledorn's the one who alternates,
yeah.
and Conley will never have to play tailback.
Adams gets it, and he's got the first down, and he breaks into the backfield, makes a cut to the outside, and gains another 10. Into Henry Ford territory at about the 42, 43-yard line. And the Troy Colts on the move again.
Yeah. Adams is definitely getting closer to that 100-yard mark, which he's going to probably have to do it on this drive because I don't think he's going to see the field after this drive. And great run here. And again, he's able to cut a little bit better out there. And I don't know if he's more confident in the footing or if maybe the field's hardening up or something, but he's able to make a few moves. Still not the slashing type of things that we're used to seeing. But 3 yards away, and he's on the sidelines for this play, but 3 more yards, and he'll have that 100-yard game.
Colts on the move. Ball at the 43-yard line. Rance on the handoff to the fullback, Appledorn. And Appledorn plunges forward for about 2 or 3 yards.
Yeah, now we've got a 4th running back in there as well in Matt Zemke, number 25. He was lined up at tailback there, and we haven't seen him today until right now. Maybe they're starting to get in the subs already. And the funny is, we said we wouldn't see Drew Patrick. He was in on that play too, but as a blocker.
Yep, he comes out now. Patrick comes out. 2nd and 8 coming up now for the Colts. Ball at the 41-yard line of Henry Ford. In motion, Appledorn. Ball handed off to the tailback, and that's number 25 on the carry, and that is Zemke, Matt Zemke.
Oh, maybe Teron Adams won't get that 100 if they don't put him back in.
3rd and 7.
There he is, the junior, 175, seeing some action now as Adams comes out.
And now Adams
goes back in.
Adams went back in along with Drew Patrick, and they are going to get Patrick a little more playing time. And, you kind of wonder, though, did they get a little bit of a scare with Kyle Rance late in the first half? You don't want these guys out there too much longer.
3rd and about 7 coming up now for the Colts as they take their time setting up. Pro set, I formation. Rance, deep drop back, goes and intercepted. Intercepted by Brooks. Andre Brooks is finally brought down by Rance at about the 33-yard line.
Yeah, Andre Brooks is having a real good game defensively for these guys, and that throw was right into his hands. Trying to hit tight end Dave Fritz going out the flats and threw a little bit behind him, and Brooks was able to get it. And Kyle Rance, to his credit, though, didn't get frustrated or upset. He went and became a defender and made the tackle that stopped the touchdown. See, Brooks right here is thinking 6 now, and only guy able to get him is the quarterback, and you're going to see Rance come up there and stop the touchdown. Now it's up to the defense.
So something the Colts did not want to do, and that's a turnover, and Kyle Rance
don't give a
came
team
up with the tackle. You can tell he didn't want to come up with that.
When you're dominating a team like this, don't give them something easy.
Yeah. Look at this. Good hard run by Watson. Keel Watson was the one who picked up the first down for Henry Ford, and that pretty much all that rushing yardage as well on his big 80-some yard run. Take a look here. Here he gets a pretty good run too.
Gets a little blocking, and that's something they weren't getting in the first half. And they don't have the kind of size that you usually see in a Detroit PSL team, but they are pretty big up there.
Mike Marshall looks on, and looks pretty promising right now for him. After the 7-yard gain by Watson, Watson falls forward close to the first down. We'll see if he gets it. It'll bring up a 3rd down. He's just shy of the first down. Third and about 1.
3rd and shy, and be the upset of the year if they don't make this a 2-down set. I mean, if they get it here, fine, but they'll go for it on 4th if they have to.
So 3rd and 1, the Troy Colts on the sideline. They're doing their part, trying to get that defense fired up here.
Quisenberry's just trying to keep his hands warm because he knows he's probably going to have to go in there and take snaps pretty soon.
3rd and 1, here it is, a big down. This would be only the second first down that Henry Ford has picked up this game if they get it. They go with the reverse, they fake it. Quarterback keeps it, they've got the first down, and they're in business.
Good move.
Stanley did a great job in faking out Rance. I think Rance had him cornered, and as tough as it is to make some moves in that mud down there, he did. Take a look, Joe.
It's tough to make moves, but he makes just one little cut, and Rance is 6'6", and Stanley's 5'6", and he had to reach down a whole foot to try to tackle him, and it was just too far to go down there, and he was able to sneak under him and get the first down.
Finally, Teron Adams on the tackle. And it's 1st and 10, ball at about the 18-yard line. Defense piling it up there as it brings up a 2nd and long now. Gain of maybe 2. It'll be 2nd and 8.
Yeah, Watson, their go-to guy on this drive, not getting much there, but still it's a lot better than what they were doing in the first half. They're at least getting the line to try to push the defenders back and get something going.
Keel Watson, 180, a junior, 5'9", and he's been their offensive machine so far this game.
And the wind sounds like it's picking up.
It is. Stanley on the reverse, hands it off, and flattened. Oh, my goodness.
Ouch.
And that was Atar again, number 54. Tyrone Ellis didn't know what hit him. We'll take a look. Here's the reverse. Ellis takes it, and he is flattened right here by Rance and by Atar. Atar just crushed him.
They hit him real hard.
Yep. And there he is, the captain, looking on. Colts want a big stop right here, and they have a chance to do it. 3rd down and 8 with 4:25 left here in the 3rd.
Yeah, and again, considering it's probably a 4-down situation if you need it, you might still see Henry Ford try to run the ball here, maybe with the quarterback sweeping it to the right side.
Full house in the backfield. They try the reverse. They fake it, and it's going to be Stanley again. He's got nowhere to go, and he gets a loss. A sack for a loss, and a big play there, and Kyle Rance is there, the big defensive end.
Well, I thought they were going to take it to the right side with the quarterback, but I never thought they'd try to do misdirection with it, because all that does is when you do this guy here goes that way, there's no one blocking. He's all by himself. If you run a sweep behind the other 3 guys, you got one on Rance, you got one right there, then he's got a chance to get some yardage. You're asking a quarterback to take on the entire defense by himself.
4th down. And what will Henry Ford do here? They have had a tough time of it offensively today. The Colt defense have stopped them. Back to pass. He's got him in the end zone. No.
Fell down, but a pass wasn't there.
Yeah, or rather, excuse me, Teron Adams had a chance to intercept that one too, or at least knock it down. You don't want to intercept it in the end zone anyway. You'd probably get it right out in the same place.
Well, I was going to say, in the end zone, it's fine to intercept it, but he was at about the 2-yard line, which would have been bad. You've got Belton back there as well. The throw's underthrown, and there's no way he's going to catch it. And
Carmichael went down anyway. Here we are.
We're warm.
Turn the lights on for you. How's that?
We're real warm. We're feeling good. Everybody else is cold.
Yeah, we are snug up here. Unfortunately, the cameraman there, Mark Gomez, who's shooting us with the camera, is not as warm as we are. There we go.
Better him
Sacks and yards. 1 sack for Henry Ford, or 9, and you saw Colts for 12.
That just got Teron Adams.
He's still in there, Joe.
And it just got him over 100 yards with that run. So, yeah, I think had they scored, he'd be out. But I think, with 24-0 and in the PSL, a lot of teams don't even kick much anyway, so they're used to the 2-point conversion.
Good effort by Adams there, too, to stay on his feet.
I guess in the second half, he's been doing a good job as far as feeling out that footing. But as far as, with 2-point conversions, 24 points, that's only 3 possessions. And I'm sure Troy's thinking that way, that you've got to at least get another field goal, and then you can sit these guys down.
There, Adams over 100 yards, 13 carries for 104 right now. And he gets the ball again, trying to get that first down. And it looks like he's got it.
Might be a yard short, but he's definitely doing some power running up the middle. And he's making Andre Brooks do all the work defensively. And
they're going to get a measurement here. Looks like he's real close.
and
looks
they don't
like,
have Teron Adams up yet either.
Yeah, he's not up.
Well, you know, they had the
Nope,
scare.
they do have the first down, but he is not moving.
And I'm sure Gary Griffiths is going to start taking guys out real quick if this keeps happening. They got the scare with Kyle Rance at the end of the first half, and now this.
Well, it's strange that you mentioned that last drive, we probably wouldn't see him the rest of the game. And then for this to happen.
Yeah. Of course, that last drive, I think we were all pretty much assuming they were going to march down to a touchdown, and they weren't going to have to throw the ball.
Yeah,
One time they threw it, they threw the interception.
And then the interception came up.
But, you know, as it is, 2:31 left. That's hard to score 3 touchdowns for a team that hasn't done anything the entire game except for a couple long plays. And our super statistician Ken Phillips, the main man, telling us a few information. But
the Master Angler, don't forget Thursday night at 8 o'clock. And this is the Master Angler in warmer days. Notice he's got the short sleeve shirt on. And one of the days you probably went fishing with him.
I don't fish.
No? Now see him, he's wearing his jacket. That's some of the conditions down on the field. That is just a great shot of what it's like down there. Even though that's on the sideline, it's pretty much like that in the middle of the field right now, too.
But anyway, Ken Phillips is telling us he noticed that Teron Adams had twisted his leg in the mud the previous play, so maybe that's an aggravated injury,
so
which is even worse.
It's compounding there on that second run. But he's standing on the sideline, so that's a good sign. Here's the run by Zemke on the first down, and he picks up a gain of about 3. It'll be second down, about 7 coming up for the Colts.
Yeah, in fact, Teron Adams just getting a drink of water, and if they need him back in, I'm sure it looks like he's fine to go back. And he's walking real. It doesn't look like anything now on the sidelines. He looks fine. But it still has to.
That's a good sign.
Has to scare the daylights out of the coach.
Yeah. Well, that's why Gary Griffith likes to keep his distance when the team's got the ball offensively.
Yeah, the only guy near him is Quisenberry, probably saying, "Come on, coach, get me in there now. I'm ready."
The handoff to Conley. Conley stacked up for a loss. And it'll be third down and long coming up. Third and about 9.
And now it's
third and about 8 now. They move it. But there you see.
Yeah, Griffith talking to his backup quarterback, Quisenberry, who I'm sure is going to play the bulk of the fourth quarter, if not the entire fourth quarter. We've got a minute.
And now
exactly
here you can show us your
here's
familiar
your typical Troy. Yeah, here's Griffith. Here's the rest of the team, and there's 15 yards between them. Just kind of making plans for what time practice.
Yeah,
will be
you
tomorrow.
noticed that earlier in the year. I didn't even notice that. He just doesn't want any part of it.
He lets the offensive coordinator handle it.
Big confusion in the backfield. Rance running for his life. And look at this.
Intentional grounding.
Intentional grounding. He just tried to get rid of that, and the ref was right there, so that's going to compound it for the Colts.
Yep, well, you see,
not a good play.
You see who's on him again, Andre Brooks, who's all over the field for them. And it's just the confusion starts right there when he runs into Zemke. And Chuck Connor was trying to get open downfield. He didn't beat his man, and he was adjusting his route, but by that time, Brooks got in there. And Rance.
He's throwing it. Who's he throwing it to? Our cameraman.
No. And it was incomplete even to the cameraman. Yeah. But now they're going to have to punt from deep in their own territory.
That shows you how they miss Adams back there in the backfield, because you saw Zemke run right into Rance.
Well, yeah, there's just a matter of timing that, you're not used to each other. And then another thing that hurt, too, is that field condition. Because, one, Rance couldn't scramble real well, and Connor couldn't adjust his route the way he needed to.
Well, it's bad enough the field condition, but then when you don't have your starting players back there, it's going to hurt. Here's the punt. Good punt, low line drive, and a good roll. And it's not going to be returned, so the Colts get it back into Henry Ford territory, but just barely. Yeah, 49 at the 49-yard line.
And
so this is good field position here now for Henry Ford, one of the best they've had. Yeah. They're so used to starting at their own 20 or inside the 20. But there's C. Stanley talking to Mike Marshall.
And Mike Marshall's got about 25 seconds. The clock's running. It's probably the last play of the third quarter, which officials love, because then we're going to have to turn around about 2 yards. But
yeah, they're happy to get it in midfield.
Yeah, and then Henry Ford gets to play on the clean side of the field.
Well, we talked at the open of the program how the field conditions were going to affect this game. They sure have, and we mentioned that it probably would hurt Henry Ford more so than Troy.
Well, that's the quarter. Oh, well. Now,
there's a flag down.
I got a question about that. There was 25 seconds on the clock exactly when they set it down, so technically they did use the 25. Now, does that also delay a game and the end of the quarter? Yes, it is. That answers the question.
Well, so they're going to count it out the other way.
So that will end the quarter and be a penalty at the same time.
Wow, never seen that happen
So
before.
if you ever are wondering, with 25 seconds, you can't just run out the quarter. You have to, unless there's 24 or less, you have to run a play.
So Henry Ford hurts himself. They'll have to drop the back 5 yards from where they were.
I bet you that's just the official not knowing, or the coach not knowing the rule.
Don't forget the Road Show video program Thursday at 9 p.m. right here on TCI 63. And you've seen this one, the Renaissance Show?
Awesome. It's great.
What's your favorite part?
Oh, man.
Where they eat the chicken like, hey, there's Bubba.
No, Bubba knows. I like the archery part, actually. The archery's real good, and then, Bubba's really the highlight. I like Bubba talking about his Rolling Stones adventures.
Look at him. He's all bundled up down there. And walking on the field, got to get that guy off the field. That's trouble. That's trouble when you get that guy on the field.
Yeah, I mean, we could talk Teron Adams into running a play that way.
Towards,
keep him awake.
towards Bubba. There's a shot of Bubba's feet from his camera, and you can see how he's getting in the muck and the mire down there. He's gonna, there he is. So it's not friendly down there for the players or the cameramen, folks.
Good thing we're up here.
Underway now in the fourth quarter as Stanley drops back quickly, and he is hit hard by number 4, Corky McCarthy. We've seen McCarthy on the returns, the kickoff and punt returns, and that time had a chance to make his presence known defensively.
Well, I'll tell you what's funny is coaches notice Corky McCarthy all the time on defense, but you don't see him in the stats and you don't see him on the screen because what he usually does is shoot through the middle and cause a lot of problems that allow other people to make the tackles. This time he actually got himself through there and made the sack on his own. He's one of those guys, one of those unsung type of players who affects a lot of other tackles. He'll do all the work, somebody else will finish the play off.
There's Keel Watson on the carry, and he's stacked up right at the line of scrimmage. Nothing there.
Yeah,
and Henry Ford's got a long way to go for a first down.
He ran right into Adkins, and
take a look.
None of his linemen ran into Adkins first. That was the problem.
Stood him right up and on his back. McCarthy in there again. Third down and 23 yards to go for a first. It's been a problem for that guy right there. Joseph Stanley has had to throw over that defensive line all day. Unloads downfield, up for grabs. Almost intercepted by Belton.
And Belton, I think, was looking at the end zone.
Sure was. That was right in his hands, and the defender, the receiver should have became the defender. He slipped and didn't get a chance to do any defending. Let's take a look.
And you can just see Stanley just doesn't have the arm strength to make this throw.
He's throwing into the wind, too.
Yeah, and it's a soft throw and into Belton's hands. Still, it's fourth down, and they've got a punt.
Clarence Gwynn there, the receiver, the intended receiver, slipped and didn't get a chance to attack Belden. There you see Connor back to receive.
And now we get, well, there's no flag, but the refs are blowing the whistles.
Timeout called by Henry Ford on a 4th and punting down.
On 4th and 23. Can't be setting up a fake on 4th and 23.
Well,
you really can't.
You never know. You're down 24-0.
I don't care.
And now that you call timeout, you might be tipping off the other team that you would be
trying
something, don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tell you, I think if I'm Troy, I'd say go ahead and try to fake 4th and 23. If you can do it, more power to you.
Yeah. In January, don't forget, TCI Sports will bring you the game of the week, and it's high school and college basketball starting in January. Saturdays and Mondays at 8 p.m. right here on TCI 63. Right now, it's playoff football. High school football action, the Troy Colts against Detroit Henry Ford. Punt it off, low, end over end. Good punt, great punt. As it goes inside the 10 and finally picked up by Connor. Connor gets it out over the 20, out to about the 22 or 23. And I'll tell you, they were lucky to get that one back over the 20.
Yeah, but I think it's a good decision by Connor.
Yeah.
I think that ball was going to die before it got into the end zone, and I think he saw that it was too. Remember, that's a real soft, wet field. There's another 8 yards for that thing to go before it would be in the end zone. So he picks it up, sees that he's got a lot of room, and he's got McCarthy in front of him. Gets past the 20, a great decision. The only biggest thing there is hold on to the ball, which he does. And is this the worst field position they've had?
I think so. Well, they were about back at the 20
they're
before.
on their own 20.
Yeah.
But it's darn near.
I formation, pro set with the receivers. Rance handing off to Appledorn. Appledorn trying to break it outside and hit hard finally. Gain of a couple of yards. See it outside there by Marcus Wallace, getting the final shove out there.
And he got knocked out of bounds, which for the moment is good for Henry Ford. You see just not able to get a good gain there, and defense does a good job of stretching everything out, forcing him out of bounds and limiting him to about a 2-yard gain.
Brooks had wrapped him up initially, Andre Brooks, and then Wallace finally shoved him out of bounds. 2nd down and 8 coming up now for the Colts. Kyle Rance still in there. Teron Adams sitting this one out, though. It's Appledorn and Zemke in the backfield. This one is Zemke. Zemke tripped up right about after a 5-yard gain. Looked like he was going to pick up the first, but then someone down on the ground stuck a hand up. Let's take a look.
Number 5, Anthony Barksdale, got him. And he, just one of those things in the right place at the right time.
Yep, picked up about 6 on the play. So 3rd and about 2 coming up now for the Colts. Two receivers up top for Rance. Hand off, and Zemke picks up the first down.
Well,
Zemke finally tripped up down there by Dave Miller, number 21.
Zemke got a lot of help from Jamal Kassar, number 50, opening up that hole for him.
Take a look, a lot of room to run.
Right there, his linemen are opening holes, and you see Kassar just to the left down there pushing guys 5 yards off the ball.
So the Colts on the move now here in the 4th quarter. Just under 9 minutes left in the contest. And the Colts have dominated in this one. First man through, Appledorn, gain of maybe a yard or 2. 2nd and long coming up. 24-0 Colts lead here in the 4th.
Yeah, we mentioned those other linemen because they're opening up to Aronat and Don McComb. Get some of the other guys in there as soon as we get their numbers.
Yep.
Steve DeHorn.
Done a great job all season and have stepped it up here in the playoffs.
And that's when you have to do it. And next week is another level they have to step up, barring a dramatic upset by involving Catholic Central.
And that's the game you're telling everybody to see. That should be a good matchup. Rance on the slant, intercepted again.
Same
and
guy.
again, it's big number 8, Brooks. And Brooks finally brought out of bounds. Rance cannot avoid that man, Brooks.
Same, and it's all those short plays where Brooks is just in
Quick
just
drop
disguising
back.
himself in
Yep.
coverage. He's not covering a guy. That's right to him. That's something that they're going to have to work on with Rance.
Yeah.
Not in terms of the throw, in terms of the read of the defense.
Well, this one coming deep in Colt territory, as deep as Henry Ford would like to be. They're at the 24-yard line.
tell you what, Andre Brooks is a senior, 5'10", 170 pounds, probably last game of his high school career. And he's going to go out with a loss, but he's going to go out with a good memory, too.
Troy with 2 turnovers, Henry Ford 0. Let's take a look. Complete down the sideline. Touchdown, Henry Ford. Complete to Dave Miller. And Henry Ford strikes quickly with 1 play from the 24-yard line.
And again, you go for that 2-point conversion, and if you can keep making 2-pointers, you never know what might happen. Here's they finally get that fade pattern to the corner to work, and it works for the touchdown. And again, Andre Brooks set it up with the interception. Good move after the catch by Miller and gets them on the board, finally 24-6, and it does look like they're going to go for the 2.
24-yard touchdown pass from Stanley to number 21, Miller. And now a 2-point conversion. Stanley into the end zone, and he's got it. Dave Miller again. So Miller picks up the 2-point conversion.
And I'm not sure who he was throwing to. Take a look at this. There's 2 guys there.
Yeah.
Watch this go right over,
guy goes down,
right over his hands and into Miller's hands. And Miller's the guy who's double covered. Teron Adams all over him and Benson in front of him. Great catch, though. And, you know,
so is this the same team we've been watching all game here?
No, this is whatever the team that played the first half as though it wanted its season to end is now playing like they might want to have another game to play. And I'm sure Mike Marshall he's probably happy with the effort, but he's also wondering where was this 2 quarters ago.
Yeah. Well, the turnovers.
Yeah, 2 turnovers this half, and really they didn't convert the first one like they should have. They got down there inside the 20, but this time they will convert on 1 play.
And I think you might see Teron Adams come back offensively now for the Colts.
I think you might have to. That's the thing. You might have to play him out of necessity. And I don't think you're going to throw the ball a whole lot. Not necessarily because Kyle Rance is throwing the 2 interceptions, although that might scare you a little bit. It's you want to run it and keep that clock moving and get out of here.
Yeah. So Henry Ford gets on the board not until the 4th quarter, though, and they pick up a big 2-point conversion that helps them on the board. 7:54 left in the game, 24-8 the score, and the Trojans to kick off.
And Chuck Connor and McCarthy deep, and
1 play, 24 yards, and it was lightning quick. The interception by Brooks set that one up.
Oh, and they're going to
onside kick. It goes 10 yards. Yes,
got it. Guess who
Did
caught
he catch it?
You know who caught it?
Miller.
Yeah. Now, how did they call it?
I don't know if he caught it. I think it went out of bounds.
He did catch it, but
he caught it out of bounds. Wait a second. Let's see where they're. No signal either way. Let's see if we can see it on the replay.
All right, now the official signals that it's
Troy ball.
He didn't catch it. Catch it. It sure looked from our angle like he had the ball.
Yeah, I didn't see any official call the play down there. So
I was going to say, if Miller keeps doing this, man.
three plays right after another. Here come the Colts. Great field position for them now. And we do not see Teron Adams in there. But look at this. Zemke with a nice run.
Good job.
Gain of maybe about 6 or 7 yards.
And as importantly, stayed in bounds. He probably could have gotten 2 more yards if he bounced it outside, but he would have stopped the clock to do it. And, wow, we're getting a quarterback change right now.
So Quisenberry comes in. Jim Quisenberry, the junior, comes in right now for Kyle Rance. Handoff straight up the middle. Look at this, first down. And Appledorn picks up the first down and more inside the 35-yard line to the 34. Here's Dan Appledorn.
Quick dive play to Appledorn. He gets about 5 carries a game, maybe because he's doing all the blocking, but he's probably got one of the better yards per carry averages around. Every time you see him with the ball, he's getting first downs.
There you see Kyle Rance on the sideline.
Careful your lips don't freeze to
Getting
that,
a
Kyle.
break. You're going to see him defensively, though. I don't think they'll pull him out on defense. Quisenberry on the handoff. This time to Zemke, and Zemke picks up good yardage. Gain of about 5 on that one. It'll be 2nd down and 5 coming up.
Yeah, you mentioned Rance on defense. That probably is determined by whether they score on this drive or not. If you get a 3-touchdown lead here, maybe you can pull guys like that and let the backups get in there. But big thing right now is keep that clock moving and keep possession of the ball. And Zemke's doing a good job since he's come in there.
Good lead block out there, too, by Joe Conley and the rest of the line.
You know, and that's something they're going to need next week against CC, just because they hit as hard as Troy does, and you need depth at running back so you guys can come off and get a breather every now and then.
There's Zemke, 6 carries, 30 yards so far. This one not going anywhere. 2nd down will now turn into 3rd and 5.
Well, that's the 3rd fumbled snap of the day, the first one for Quisenberry, but he very alertly decided just to fall down on it rather than pick it up and do something with it.
They lost a couple on that one after Quisenberry couldn't get it. It was down immediately by Terrence Allen in there. You see the sun coming out now. We haven't seen too much of that.
Yeah, right about in time for that Michigan State kickoff, I think.
Yeah, a game that...
By now you're watching this and you know what happened.
You never watched that game. You're not interested in
I'm getting
that game.
pay-per-view on Northwestern Penn State.
That's right. That's the game you want. Here's Zemke on the carry. Finally brought down, and it'll bring up a 4th and long yardage here. 4th and about 5 coming up. And the Colts look like they may go for it. Here's Zemke again.
Yeah, Zemke just blocking wasn't there, and look who's in on the tackle once again, Brooks, number 8. Dirtiest uniform on the field for either team just because he's been all over the field all day for those guys. There's going to be one exhausted kid tonight, and tomorrow he's going to be sore.
Yeah, but still looking forward to next week. The big game that should be the matchup against Catholic Central.
Got it.
Look at this. Quisenberry takes it himself for the 1st down. And the Colts are on the move again.
You know, Henry Ford never thought about the option for a second there. They bought that fullback dive completely. There's a flag on the play, and we'll see who that's going against. Well, it was a good play.
Let's take a look.
You see, he got the 1st down, but that's coming back.
Coming back, and it... somebody said it might look like face mask penalty down there. Nope, holding.
Yeah, I think that was some Troy people that were hoping it was against Henry Ford calling for a face mask, and it was instead a hold.
Yeah. There you see one of the vantage points here, but that is way up on top of the press box, and it is colder up there than I think any place on the field. You got nothing blocking the wind up there.
But they're happy to do it just to bring the game to everyone that's watching.
And bring all these good pictures to you. 4th and long. You see the penalties. There you see Quisenberry taking himself, and he's got the 1st down. And he's taking a beating, too.
Yeah. And obviously, if you're wondering, you know, every now and then you got to explain this thing about the high school rules, but it was 4th and 5 or 6 before, and ended up being 4th and 8. Again, because the penalty is not from the line of scrimmage, it's from wherever the foul was. So the foul happened obviously way downfield on the previous play. 4th down and 7, and they just decided to run option left instead of option right, and Quisenberry can't be stopped until he gets the 1st down once again. And that is a huge play because we're under 4 minutes now. And we have an official timeout on the field, and I have no idea why.
Official timeout. Players don't know it yet. Everybody's all lined up. Now they're going to start the clock now. 3:50 and counting down here in the 4th quarter. The Troy Colts on the verge of scoring again here with the 2nd unit. Here's Zemke. Zemke just angling outside and had a pretty good pickup there.
Getting some good blocking in front of him as well, and all of a sudden this offense, which they're starting to put some of the backup guys in there, I think they want a little glory for themselves for their entire unit. A little mixture of starters and 2nd stringers right now, but I notice they're pulling more guys out on each play as we get closer to the 3-minute mark. clock stopped when he went out of bounds on that play, though.
Finally ridden out of bounds there by Kelvin Moore for Henry Ford. 2nd down and 3 for the Colts. Quisenberry in the handoff to Zemke's hit in the backfield and brought down by Justin Hand, number 56.
Yeah, Justin Hand was unblocked, and now we got a flag way after the play, and well, I hope it's not. Well, I don't know. I don't think there's much necessity for calling an unsportsmanlike penalty right now, but they're going to call it.
That adds some more trouble here to Henry Ford's cause.
Yeah, you know, when he shook his fist, that shouldn't be enough, but he, you know, we don't know what he said, and that's, you know, obviously the official's right there.
Clock stopped at 3:28 here in the 4th quarter. And there's the unsportsmanlike conduct penalties, and
that's automatic 1st down.
1st and goal from about the 8-yard line. Quisenberry takes it himself, cuts up, and is stacked up there. Maybe got close to the 5, not much there.
You know, I'll tell you something, you got to give this Troy offense a lot of credit. They got a little wake-up call after the interception and the touchdown where, you know, they probably weren't in a lot of trouble, but you still realize the game wasn't over yet. And they took this ball after the failed onside kick attempt, and they've marched down the field and haven't made a mistake yet except for a fumbled snap, which even that they alertly just fell on top of rather than try to make something out of nothing. But they've definitely responded to a little adversity very well.
And they're running the ball, too, trying to get that time off the clock. And this drive has been executed pretty good for them by the 2nd offensive unit. Inside the 5 now, looks like Appledorn on the carry. Nope, Zemke.
Zemke on the carry, and of course
Zemke.
On the tackle was Brooks. And we're getting more of the reserves in there now for Troy. Almost a wholesale substitution.
What a thrill it would be. There's someone with some good seats, too, up there.
That's
on the other side. It's on the Henry Ford side.
That's a hard seat to get.
Yeah. Well, not too many people have them, you see. That's why.
Tim Feldkamp must have raised the ticket prices.
Quisenberry wrapped up at his feet, but then tried to cut up field and met some more defenders and brought down inside the 4-yard line. So,
well, you've got to go for it here.
4th and about 4.
You go for it here because if you kick a field goal, well, I guess they are going to kick a field goal. I thought they'd go for it. But when you see he doesn't get in the end zone, I just figured if you miss the field goal, you give Henry Ford the ball at the 20, whereas if you miss going for it, they get it at the 1 or the 2.
Some more fans. I'll tell you, I don't know how she's doing it with just a sweatshirt out there, but I guess it's the movement that's keeping her warm, huh?
And the fact that she's about to be in a heated car in about a minute and 15 seconds.
The field goal attempt is no good, so the Colts give Henry Ford the ball back with 1:14 left here in the 4th quarter. And the Colts move on now. Looks like they're going to be heading to play, more than likely,
Catholic Central,
and a matchup that you said would probably be the state champion winner.
Should be. I mean, there's people that talk about Belleville and a couple of teams from out state.
Belleville's been doing real well this year.
Yeah, but you know, CC's always the best, and if you can beat them, you can beat anybody.
And in January, TCI Sports brings you the game of the week. High school and college basketball action at Saturdays and Mondays at 8 p.m.
Tim Feldkamp didn't hear what I said earlier. He just heard the last part. But the fact is, that is the state championship game. I don't care what anybody says. Next week is the state championship game.
Back to pass. Stanley looks downfield. Intercepted. Intercepted by Zemke, number 25, down the sideline. And he didn't get in. Just shy at about the 1 or 2 yard line. They knocked him out, but
now Griff better give him the ball every play. This guy deserves a touchdown. You don't let him score, something's wrong.
Well, he was a workhorse in getting the ball downfield to begin with on the offensive drive. Here's Stanley back to pass.
Now you know they've got to throw, so you sit back there with all your defensive backs, and Zemke's just waiting for it, and now it's a matter of whether he scores or not, and he's finally knocked out of bounds at the last possible moment by Watson.
Well, he read that perfectly. He knew the pass was going there, and it was just, he timed it, cut in front, and took off. Colts have had a number of chances to come up with interceptions. That's the first time they hung on to it.
Yeah, well, that was the first time it was throwing hard. The other ones were kind of floating in the wind.
Zemke on the carry, and that time
Stop
further back. Yeah, knocked further back. You can hear that wind rumbling out there. It has not stopped from beginning to end of this game.
And they're probably only going to take one, maybe two more snaps, but they're not going to have to score if they don't want to.
Clock winding down on the Detroit Henry Ford season right now. Ball on the 5-yard line, 2nd and goal. Handoff to Zemke. Zemke again stacked up.
That's the last play of the game. They're not going to, unless Henry Ford wants to call a timeout, the game's over.
Some of the Troy players want to snap it again.
Yeah, those are the backups.
Yeah,
they want to get another play.
They want to say, "Hey, I got a touchdown in the playoffs."
Yeah, or at least my unit did. You know, if you're a lineman, but that's not going to happen.
Nope. That'll do it. The Troy Colts victorious here in the first round of the playoffs, and they move on to play Catholic Central more than likely next week in what Joe calls the
real state championship.
The real state championship, and we shall see.
And since they're not in our area, I hope Troy kills Catholic Central. Because remember, a fake diamond is a sham rock.
So that's Joe Abramson. For any Catholic Central fans out there listening, you can send your cards and letters to Joe Abramson. So the Colts victorious 24-8 here at their home field on a cold and blustery day on a very, very difficult field to play on. The Colts and head coach Gary Griffith defeat Mike Marshall and his Trojans. There you see Mike Marshall. It's a tough, long day for him and his team coming all the way out here and playing under difficult conditions.
He's got some good young players too, and next year, PSL seems to be a two-team race usually with Cass Tech and King, but Henry Ford used to be the dominant team, and maybe he can bring it back there with a few more guys. They don't have the numbers they used to have or the size, but there is some talent over there. Obviously, you get in the playoffs, you're doing something right.
The final score, the Troy Colts 24 and the Henry Ford Trojans 8. We'll be back with final stats for you and to wrap it up right after these messages.
Oakland Press Perspective with Neil Monroe is an informative talk show that discusses issues often overlooked by broadcast stations. Neil Monroe, the editor of the Oakland Press newspaper, will keep you abreast on hot topics, events, and issues taking place in Oakland County. So for news you can use, join Neil Monroe every week on the Oakland Press Perspective, Friday night at 8:30 on TCI 63. If you wish a video cassette of TCI Sports, the cost is $25. Send a check payable to TCI, along with your name, address, and the names of the teams that played in the game, to TCI Sports Videotapes, 4500 Delamere Boulevard, Royal Oak, Michigan, 48073. Remember to tell us which game you wish to receive. And thank you for watching TCI Sports.
Welcome back to Troy High School. Dave Zorin along with Joe Abramson as the Troy Colts go on to the playoffs here after a victory over Henry Ford 24-8. And Joe, more than likely they're going to take on, like you said, Catholic Central.
Yeah, the big question is where are they going to play it, because it's one of three possible fields, either here at Wisner or at Catholic Central, or at Livonia Clarenceville, I should say.
Here are the final stats for you. Henry Ford passing 27, 103 for Troy, rushing 93, and most of that coming on that one play that we talked about. For Troy, 190 yards rushing, and total yards 120 to 293.
And Teron Adams with 108 of those yards on 14 carries. He also caught 2 for 34. And Zemke with 42 yards rushing. On the other side, Watson 9 carries for 94 yards.
And first downs, you can see how lopsided it really was. Troy 15-3. Turnovers, Troy came up with 3 turnovers to 1 for Henry Ford.
Committed 3 turnovers.
Committed, excuse me.
Yeah, and 2 of those were Brooks with the interceptions. And The big thing here, though, the time of possession, which was kind of close at halftime when they really needed to and just wanted to keep the ball out of the Trojans' hands. Troy just marched down the field, ran it down their throat, and didn't always get in the end zone, but they took time off the clock and had Henry Ford so far away they weren't able to mount drives.
So there we go. The Troy Colts head on to defend their state championship next week, and we wish them the best of luck. Henry Ford, a good season for them. And next, we will see you in January, it looks like. The TCI Sports continues with high school, college, and basketball action Saturdays and Mondays at 8 p.m. So join in then.
And we definitely want to wish Troy a lot of luck next week. And they did play once before in the playoffs in '92, and it went to the last play of the game, and Catholic Central won 6-3, and they ended up winning the state title. And so last time it happened, it was for eventually the state championship. So let's go for it again.
Okay, there's the final. The Troy Colts 24 and Henry Ford 8. And we will see you in January with basketball action. Thanks for joining us all season long. For Joe Abramson, I'm Dave Zorn, and for our hardworking and very cold staff out there, thanks for tuning in all year. We'll see you